Hi, and welcome to Reddit Confessions, where real stories dig deep and the truth hits harder than fiction. Let's begin. The last thing I deleted was the Spotify playlist. I don't know why that broke me. Out of everything, the photos, the videos, the 3-year anniversary recording she made in that horrible fake British accent, it was the playlist that finally shattered me. We'd called it Us in a Loop. Cringy, I know, but it had all the dumb songs we used to dance to in the kitchen, barefoot, with pancake batter on her cheek, and me humming off-key while pretending I knew the words. I hovered over the delete button for hours, and when I finally clicked it, it felt like I was dragging the last piece of her out of my ribcage. Not because I wanted to, but because she told me, word for word, "I love him. I'm not coming back." Then she packed a single duffel bag, smiled like she was doing me a favor, and vanished. She didn't cry. She didn't even pause to glance at the framed photo by the door, the one we took on that freezing Vermont trip where we both got food poisoning but still laughed all weekend. It's funny. I thought I'd fall apart. I thought I'd plead. I didn't. I said nothing. And the silence was so loud, I could feel it echoing in my teeth. After the door clicked shut, I sat there, surrounded by objects that still smelled like her life. Eucalyptus lotion, lavender hair mist, her lemon tea bags, which she always left half-finished like every promise she ever made. And I started to erase her. Not out of hate, not for revenge, but because if she wasn't coming back, I needed to be sure there was nothing left to return to. That's when things got strange. It wasn't just grief. It was like her departure triggered a spiral of unraveling events. That night, the power went out in just our apartment. The building manager said it was a freak glitch. The next day, her mother texted me asking if Mallory had gone silent. She had no clue her daughter had left town. Then someone started leaving wilted flowers at our doorstep, without a note. I thought I was going insane. But the truth was, I hadn't even scratched the surface of what was really happening. She didn't just leave me for someone else. She left something behind. The day after she left, I found myself scrubbing the grout in the bathroom floor with a toothbrush. Not because it needed cleaning, but because I didn't know what else to do. You ever try to outrun your own brain? That's what it felt like. As if maybe, just maybe, if I focused hard enough on scrubbing the past out of the tiles, I wouldn't hear her voice echoing in my head. That flat, final tone, "I'm not coming back." I'd already packed up the clothes she left behind. Not much, just a couple of jackets, a perfume bottle, a broken pair of sunglasses she never got around to tossing. I couldn't throw them away just yet. I'd put them in the hall closet behind the vacuum, like burying bones under the floorboards of a house you still want to believe is livable. I thought that would be the worst of it, but I was wrong. The next night, something woke me around 2:30 a.m. No noise, no sudden crash, just this sensation, like the room had shifted somehow. I sat up in bed, and for a moment, I swear I could smell her hair. Not perfume, not the artificial citrus lavender mix she wore to brunch. Her hair, like when she fell asleep on my chest on rainy Saturdays. But no one was there. And then I noticed something else. The photo frame on the dresser, the one with the picture of us in Savannah, where she made that dumb face she always swore she hated, it was turned around, facing the wall. I hadn't touched it, and I know I didn't sleepwalk. I checked the locks. All were secure. Windows closed. No sign of entry. I told myself I was being dramatic. Maybe I knocked it while grabbing laundry earlier and just didn't notice. But in the morning, there was another flower at the door. A single rose this time. Wilted. Wrapped in what looked like parchment paper. No card. No name. I texted her. Just once. Not to beg. Just to ask if she'd been by. Her reply came 6 hours later. "Curtis, please don't start acting weird. We agreed this was best." No. You decided this was best, I thought. I just didn't stop you. But the part that really got me? I never said anything about the flower. That evening, I started tearing through the apartment. Not in a rage. Just this frantic, obsessive search for something. Anything. I pulled open drawers I hadn't looked in for months. Rummaged through the old filing cabinet in the corner. That's when I found it. Underneath a stack of old warranties and tax receipts was a thin manila folder labeled EMG Notes. I didn't recognize the handwriting. Inside were 2 pages. One was a printed email from a Dr. Ellis Montgomery, confirming an appointment for someone named Mallory Gentry, my wife's maiden name, at a clinic in Seattle. The second page? It was a photocopy of a patient release form, signed just 2 weeks ago. The signature was hers. No doubt. But I'd never heard of this clinic. And the strange part? The email wasn't sent to her personal account. It was addressed to an email I'd never seen before, one with a different last name. Hers, but changed. As if she'd already started a new identity before she ever told me she was leaving. Why would she do that? What was she preparing for? That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the manila folder while the hum of the refrigerator sounded like it was mocking me. I wasn't just forgotten. I was erased. And yet, she left this behind. Not by accident. I don't believe in accidents anymore. Because the very next morning, I got a call from a blocked number. No one spoke on the other end. Just breathing. And then, right before it clicked off, a whisper. Quiet. Shaky. One word. Don't. I don't know what it was. That whisper, that breath, or just the weight of being alone for too long. But after that call, I stopped pretending this was just about a broken marriage. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This felt like a warning. The whisper on the phone. Don't. Don't what? Call her? Search deeper? Or maybe it was a plea. Like someone wanted to stop me before I uncovered something I couldn't unlearn. I stared at the manila folder again. EMG, notes. I hadn't noticed it before, but there were faint indentations on the back, like someone had written something over it and pressed too hard. I ran a pencil over the surface, and slowly, 3 words emerged. He isn't real. I remember just sitting there for a minute, pencil frozen midair, staring at those words like they were in a foreign language. She said she loved him. She packed a bag for him. She left me for him. But he wasn't real? The feeling in my chest wasn't rage. It wasn't even confusion. It was something colder. Like dread had built a home behind my ribs and started redecorating. I grabbed my laptop and started digging. Ellis Montgomery, the doctor from the appointment confirmation, didn't work at any Seattle clinic I could find. No LinkedIn. No published work. No website. The address listed in the email led to a shipping facility that had been closed for 2 years. I checked her calendar backups. There were no reminders for any trip to Seattle. In fact, her calendar hadn't been updated since the day before she left. That's when I noticed something else. She had marked that day with a single word. End. Not flight. Not Devon. Just end. It hit me like a punch to the stomach. There was no Devon. So who? Or what did she leave me for? I pulled open our fireproof lockbox. You know the one. Where every couple keeps marriage certificates, car titles, embarrassing photos that never made it to Instagram. But something was missing. Actually, a lot was missing. The envelope where we stored our emergency cash? Gone. Her passport? Gone. The hard drive with all our trip videos? Gone. But she left behind our wedding video. Not the edited version. The raw one. The one where you can hear my voice shaking during my vows. The one where she kept laughing because the officiant mispronounced her last name. I hadn't watched it in years. And for some stupid reason, I played it. Not because I wanted to remember. I just wanted to see her face again before I let it go for good. But something was off. In the background, during the cocktail hour, you could see someone in multiple shots. A man. Always just at the edge of the frame. Never facing the camera. Always in black. And always near her. I called her cousin that night. The one who recorded most of the footage on her phone. She didn't answer. I left a message. Do you know who that guy in black was at the wedding? The one near Mallory? A few minutes later, I got a text back. Curtis, there was no guy in black. I was filming all day. You're freaking me out. I checked again. Rewatched the clips. Paused each one. He was still there. Standing, waiting, watching. And in one frame, he had his hand on her shoulder. And she was smiling. Not like she was caught off guard. But like she knew. Like they were in on something together. I froze the frame. Blew it up. The photo got pixelated, blurry, but I could still make out something hanging from his wrist. A hospital band. And 3 letters printed on it. EMG. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I just sat in front of my laptop, frame by frame, rewinding and playing that video over and over again. And every time, the man in black was there. Unmoving. Distant. Watching her. Watching us. A shadow that didn't belong. Not among laughing cousins and dancing old friends, and the kind of awkward toast you only hear once in a lifetime. I froze the frame where he touched her shoulder. Her face was angled just enough to show her expression, and it wasn't surprise. It wasn't fear. It was almost relief. That scared me more than anything. At sunrise, I left the apartment. I needed air. I needed noise. I drove to the public library of all places, figuring I'd clear my head with silence and neutral ground. But halfway there, I noticed a car following me. An older black sedan with no plates. At first, I thought I was imagining things. I switched lanes. It followed. I took an exit and re-entered the freeway. It stayed behind, 3 cars back. Finally, I pulled into a gas station and sat there, engine off, waiting. The sedan cruised by slowly and then kept going. I waited 10 more minutes before moving again, heart pounding like I'd just outrun something with claws. Back at home, I dug out every piece of mail Mallory had received in the last few months. There wasn't much. She handled most of her stuff digitally, but I found a shredded envelope in the bottom of the recycling bin. I taped it back together, and what I read didn't make sense. It was addressed to M. Gentry, her maiden name again, but sent to our current address, dated 2 weeks before she told me she was leaving. The return label was fake. Just a name, the Ellis Center. No location, no phone number. Inside, a small square card, black with silver lettering that read, "We've prepared your departure. Trust the procedure. Burn this." That was it. No signature, no other instructions. And she hadn't burned it. She'd just torn it, thrown it out like a receipt. But she followed the instructions, didn't she? She left. Only now I was starting to believe it had nothing to do with another man, and everything to do with whatever procedure that card referred to. And that's when the phone rang. Unknown number again. I didn't answer it this time. I let it ring while I recorded the caller ID, then took a screenshot. I tried reverse lookup, but no results came up. Just a vague location ping. Somewhere near a psychiatric institute upstate that had been closed for renovations since 2019. The same year Mallory went to her first retreat. Coincidence? I don't believe in those anymore. I started searching for anything I could about the Ellis Center. Pages and pages of nothing. No website. No tax records. No medical licensing. It was like it didn't exist, except for a few broken forum threads from a decade ago, with posts like, "Anyone ever been approached by the Ellis people? They offered me an exit. What does that mean? Don't accept the card. Please. If you get the black card, burn it." And then, one post that froze me completely. My wife disappeared after getting involved with Ellis. Said she was being recalibrated. I never saw her again. But someone else, something else, started answering her number. Same voice. Not her. I slammed my laptop shut. I felt sick. Because suddenly, everything that had felt like heartbreak, the distance, the weird behavior, the sudden departure, it no longer felt like betrayal. It felt like replacement. And I hadn't even told you the worst part yet. That same afternoon, while I was trying to figure out how deep this went, I got an email. Not from her. Not from any name I recognized. The subject line was simple. "Stop digging." And the body of the message was even shorter. "We can make you forget too." I stared at the screen, my hand frozen on the mouse, rereading that message over and over. "We can make you forget too." It was chilling, not just because of what it said, but because of what it implied. Someone was watching. Someone knew how deep I'd gone. Someone, or something, had eyes on me, and they wanted me to stop peeling back the layers. But I couldn't. You don't come this far and just walk away. I took a screenshot of the email, forwarded it to my backup account, and then went into the email's metadata. The message didn't come from a known provider. No Gmail, no Yahoo, nothing traceable. The domain was a string of randomized characters, encrypted and wiped the second I tried to trace it. Whoever sent it was careful, deliberately careful. I opened a new tab and searched for psychiatric clinics near the upstate area where that blocked call had pinged earlier. Only one came close, Hollow Pines. Shut down 5 years ago after a fire destroyed part of the records wing. The news articles were vague. No confirmed casualties. Just words like internal audit, patient relocation, and staff restructuring. It sounded like corporate cleanup after something ugly. That name, though? Hollow Pines. I remembered it. Mallory once mentioned it, back in 2020. Said her cousin had been there briefly for emotional recalibration. At the time, I thought she meant rehab. I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to pry into her family's business. God, I was always so passive. So trusting. That's what kills me now. I called the number still listed on their rusted-out Yelp page, expecting a dead tone. But someone answered. A woman. Not the receptionist type. Her voice was off. Robotic, but not cold. Too smooth. "Thank you for contacting Hollow Pines. Please provide your retrieval sequence." I froze. I'm looking for a patient. Mallory Gentry? Retrieval sequence, please, the voice repeated. I don't have one. Silence. And then, a strange click, like someone pressing a recorder button, followed by her voice saying something that sounded like, Subject 12 has located the threshold. Then the line disconnected. That was the exact moment I knew I wasn't dealing with some back-alley operation. This was organized, systematic. And Mallory? She hadn't just left me. She'd been processed. I needed answers, not whispers. So I did something reckless. I posted anonymously on one of those fringe conspiracy forums, the ones I used to laugh at, asking if anyone had ever heard of EMG or Hollow Pines. I included the details I'd found, even uploaded a blurry still of the man in black from our wedding video. I figured I'd get a few tinfoil hat responses or nothing at all. Instead, I got a private message less than an hour later. The username was _MJ_retired, and the profile had no posts, no history, no photo. But the message was long. Too long to be a prank. It started like this. You're not crazy. I used to work there. I left before they perfected the cognitive transfer model. What you're seeing, that's phase 2. She wasn't supposed to leave a trace, but something must have glitched. Glitched. The word made my skin crawl. Like my wife had been part of some program, a test subject, and something went wrong. The message continued. Burn the folder. Throw away anything with the logo. And whatever you do, don't answer if you see a second version of her. She won't be the one you remember. Second version? I didn't even get a chance to respond. Because right as I finished reading that message, the doorbell rang. Once. Twice. Then silence. I stood up, my heart pounding so hard I felt dizzy. I walked slowly to the door and looked through the peephole. No one. But when I opened the door, there was a box on the welcome mat. A small black box, wrapped in silver ribbon. Inside, just one thing. A thumb drive. No note. No label. Just a symbol carved into the plastic casing. 3 letters, interlocked in a looping spiral. EMG. I held the drive in my hand for a long time before plugging it in. My fingers wouldn't stop shaking. The plastic casing felt warm, like it had been sitting in sunlight, but it was early evening and the porch had been in the shade. I kept telling myself it was just paranoia, that none of this could be real, that I was spiraling. But the ribbon, the symbol, the timing, none of it felt random. I booted up an old laptop I hadn't used in years. No Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, just a dusty shell I kept in case I ever needed to work offline. I didn't trust my main computer anymore. Not after that email. Not after the calls. If they could trace me, I wanted to at least make them work for it. I inserted the drive. No folder names. No file trees. Just a single file. Titled Mirror. Yexi. The moment I double-clicked it, the screen went black. I thought it had crashed, but then words began to appear, one line at a time. Old DOS style. Like something from a 90s hacker movie. Project Mirror initiated. Subject 12, status, terminated. Spouse detected, sequence, observed, breach risk, high. And then, proceeding with alignment protocol. My mouth went dry. I tried to close the window. I hit ESC, Alt plus F4, everything, nothing worked. Suddenly, the screen flickered and a video feed appeared. My heart dropped. It was me, live, sitting in front of the laptop, but from an angle I didn't recognize. Like there was a second camera, except I didn't own one. The image was grainy, flickering like it was being transmitted from somewhere else. My own face stared back at me in real time, confused and terrified. Then the feed shifted. It cut to footage I'd never seen before. Mallory, sitting in what looked like a clinical observation room. Pale walls, steel table. She was facing forward, staring into a camera like she was waiting for someone to speak. Her expression was blank, glassy. Not scared. Not sad. Just gone. A male voice came from off-camera. Calm. Monotone. What is your name? She didn't answer. What is your designation? Her lips parted, slow. And in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, Version 2. 0. My stomach turned. What happened to the original? The voice asked. A pause. Then, erased after noncompliance. I paused the video. I couldn't breathe. My mind was racing in circles, spinning down a drain I couldn't escape. What the hell was this? Was this a simulation? Roleplay? Brainwashing? But then something happened that froze every inch of me. She turned toward the camera, directly toward me, and smiled. Not like a pre-recorded message. Not like a normal video response. Like she was looking through the screen. like she knew I was watching. I shut the laptop, yanked the drive out, and nearly hurled it across the room. I was drenched in sweat, heart thudding like a warning drum. I backed away slowly, as if the machine might leap at me. That's when I heard the knock at the window. Not the door. The window. Second story. I live alone. There's no fire escape on that side. No trees. Just open air and bricks. And yet, 3 soft knocks. Deliberate. Measured. I didn't move. I couldn't. I waited in silence, lungs barely pulling in air. And then I heard it. A soft voice, just on the other side of the glass. So familiar it cracked something inside me. Curtis, let me in. I turned, inch by inch, toward the sound. And there she was. Mallory. But not the version I remembered. Her head tilted ever so slightly. Her smile stretched a little too wide. Her eyes looked wrong. Too still. Like she was wearing her own face, but didn't know how to animate it correctly. And around her wrist? A hospital band. Marked with the letters. EMG. I didn't open the window. I couldn't. My feet were glued to the floor, pulse thumping in my ears so loud I thought I'd faint. I backed away slowly, step by step, refusing to blink. Because whatever was outside that glass, wearing my wife's face, wasn't human. Not anymore. Or maybe not ever. She stood perfectly still, lips curled into a soft, artificial smile. Like she was rehearsing being comforting and hadn't quite mastered the timing. But it was the eyes that terrified me most. They were too wide, too bright, as if someone had polished them from the inside out and forgotten to leave the soul. I turned off every light in the apartment and crouched behind the kitchen island, barely breathing. I held my phone in my hand, ready to call someone, anyone. But who the hell do you call when your erased wife is smiling at your second-story window like she's waiting for her cue? I sat there in the dark for almost 40 minutes. When I finally summoned the courage to peek, she was gone. No sound. No shadow, just gone. But she'd left something behind. On the window, in fog breath, were 3 words. You were warned. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the heater made my skin crawl. I kept expecting the lights to go out, or my phone to ring with that same breathy whisper. Instead, at 4:12 a.m., I received an email. No subject, no sender, just a zip file titled Pine Mirror _econ. 7Z. I didn't open it. Not right away. I just stared at it like it was a venomous thing that had slithered onto my desktop. But curiosity, as always, got the better of fear. I unpacked the file. It was a recording. Surveillance footage. Time-stamped from nearly a year ago. And it was from inside my house. The footage was grainy, colorless, and silent, but unmistakable. I saw myself in the kitchen, humming while making scrambled eggs. Mallory entered the room. She wrapped her arms around me from behind. I kissed her forehead. It was a normal morning. Until halfway through the clip. Her body froze mid-step, like someone hit pause. Then, and I swear to you this happened, she began to move in reverse. Not walk backward. Rewind. Like time inside her skipped. Her head twitched unnaturally, jerking side to side, and her mouth opened just wide enough to expose her teeth, locked in a full grimace, like a corrupted video buffer. I saw myself in the clip just keep cooking, completely unaware. The camera angle changed. Suddenly, I was watching from the hallway. Same timestamp. But this time, the footage showed 2 Mallories. One standing near me in the kitchen. Another crouched in the hallway shadows. Watching. Staring. No movement. Just a blank stare fixed directly on the man she'd married. The man who didn't know she'd already been doubled. The video cut out. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. I was shaking so violently I could barely stand. That footage wasn't edited. I know what doctored media looks like. This was raw, unfiltered, and it explained everything. The late-night retreats. The shifts in her behavior. The way she once forgot our dog's name. Even though we cried together the day he was put down. That woman I lived with. I don't think she was Mallory. Not the Mallory I married. I knew I couldn't stay in that apartment anymore. I packed a duffel with whatever I could carry. Just clothes, cash, the folder, the drive, and that haunted laptop. I didn't even bother turning off the lights. I left everything behind, including the wedding ring I'd kept on the nightstand even after she left. I dropped it in the sink and walked out. I checked into a roadside motel 40 miles outside the city under a fake name. Paid in cash. No phone signal. The room was cold and smelled like mildew, But for the first time in weeks, I felt invisible. Safe. Or so I thought. Because around 2 a.m., I heard the receptionist arguing with someone in the lobby. A woman's voice. Calm, polite, but firm. Then came a knock on my door. Not loud. Just gentle. Rhythmic. I didn't move. Didn't speak. Just crept toward the peephole and looked. No one was there. But as I backed away, something slid under the door. An envelope. Inside was a single photo. Taken in the motel parking lot, just 20 minutes earlier. It was me, getting out of my car. And written on the back, in the same tight handwriting as the torn card I'd found before, were the words. There is no escape. Only replacement. I didn't sleep for the next 3 nights. I barely ate. I kept moving, one motel to the next, paying in cash, switching cars with a contact I barely trusted but couldn't afford not to. I didn't reach out to anyone I knew. I deleted my social media, burned every piece of paper with my name on it. The Curtis from before? He no longer existed. And maybe that was the point. But I wasn't going to run forever, because I realized something in that mildew-scented motel bathroom while staring at the mirror. They weren't just replacing people. They were erasing them. Their memories, their relationships, their history. Like we never mattered. But we do. I do. And I wasn't going to let them turn me into a ghost of my own life. So I went back. Not to the apartment. Not to Mallory. I went to the source. The drive had included GPS metadata in one of the surveillance files. A mistake on their part. One they probably didn't expect me to find. It led to an isolated compound near a decommissioned airstrip in Montana. Nothing around for miles. Just trees, fog, and concrete. I arrived before dawn. I didn't have a plan. Just a camera. A portable hard drive. And something stronger than fear. Conviction. The place was abandoned. Rotting fence lines, smashed surveillance domes, doors pried open and left to rust. Inside, I found empty labs, rows of bunks, strange diagrams painted over with white latex. It looked like someone had cleared out in a panic, like the operation had been shut down before it could finish. But there was one room left untouched. A viewing chamber. One wall was mirrored glass. The other? A wall of filing cabinets. Dozens of files, each with a name. Some crossed out, some marked complete. I found Mallory's file. Page after page of transcripts, evaluations, photographs of her asleep, unaware she was being monitored. They had documented every phase of her adjustment, from compliance to breakdown, from subject to shell. But on the last page, scribbled in handwriting that didn't match the rest, was this. Subject began to recover identity. Memory bleed detected. Mission failure. Cease transfer. They hadn't replaced her. They'd tried. But somewhere, deep down, she fought back. That moment changed everything for me. I thought I'd lost her. That she'd chosen someone else. That our life had meant nothing. But no, they took her. And still, she resisted. I don't know where she is now. I don't know if she even knows who she is. But I believe, with everything in me, that she's out there. Whole. Free. And so am I. Because after all the fear, the running, the unraveling, I found myself again. Not the man she left. The man who kept going. And now, I've made it my mission to expose the truth. I've backed up every file. I've documented every step. And this story, our story, is just the beginning. Because I won't let them erase anyone else. Not without a fight. Thanks for listening to my journey. If you made it this far, you're part of it too. Tell me in the comments. What's the one moment in this story that gave you chills or made you question everything? Let's talk. Let's share. Let's remember that even in the darkest corners, we are not alone. And if you ever feel like your story doesn't matter, believe me, it does. This has been Reddit Confessions. Don't forget to subscribe for more true stories that will twist your mind and stir your soul.